as you may or may not know, the code ban has been lifted by Sish, considering pretty much the last mission has come out. And from that, basically what that means is people are free to discuss, they're free to share the codes and anything about them. What the codes are their little hidden stuff in the game. Each mission has them. We didn't know before, but we know now that Killhouse and the Night Heists also have them. So if you've seen those little Freefall Softworks logos before, those are like hints for the code. Tells you kind of where near they are. So if you don't want to get spoilers on where these codes are, if you want to try and find them yourself, I guess. I think they're pretty hard to find, but this is the lock page on the wiki, which has basically all of the information. It tells you how the code is found. It has files too. You don't want to put them in on the menu, which is right below your XP bar. There's a little bar that you can click in and put stuff in. You may have found that already. Anyway, so basically there's hidden codes, and when you put them in, you get little files. I am just going to be going over the files, starting from, the newer ones, I think, and kind of what I think about them. Maybe some Furies or something. I don't know. You might be looking for this. Gala is Outcast. There is Cash is Eminent. Auction is Pearl. Killhouse is uh, Providence. Scientist is Pyre. SCRS is Memento. Lakehouse is Sociopath. I'm just going to go over them quickly here. Monaco. Withdrawal is Sage. Yes, Sage. Financer's Backlash. Defector. And of course Epoch. Now I'm just going to go through them, do some reading. You can put them in on the actual thing, or just read them here, which is nice. So this here is an after action report about Black Dawn, which is the cutscene, the first cutscene added. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it was added before, yeah, it was added before everything. When the game just started out, it was just a cutscene. So I'm guessing once Freelancer, I'm not sure when the code was added, but you find it like behind one of the tutorial tips. It's like usually you can see straight through, but it's like semi-transparent and you can like just make out the word. Anyway, so you can kind of see how the designation works. So this is 2012. I get a bit confused with the timeline. It'd be nice to have a timeline picture. But there's a client designation and then designation for operatives. So I guess those are different designations. You get to find the code names of the operatives, which isn't super important. You can kind of see the ranking going on there. So this is kind of an important one, even though it's only really the first one, but it talks about the Project Onyx files, which were the things Rose took out, because like Rose took the Onyx files in her little briefcase, and then they lost contact. It basically repeats a lot of what happened, and then they've been retained. Basically, they identified Jackdaw, gave him a big, because they thought he was dead, but he wasn't. We don't know if any organization this is, resource project. So basically, this I find the story is about, it's about Jackdaw and the director, but it's also about this project Onyx is important because it's like an ultimate weapon or something, and I'll get to that later, but I think it's some kind of cruel weapon because later on you'll see what I mean. Anyway, this basically talks about Kingfisher and how he worked with MI6 and then he started his own stuff. There's his own operation with some other people for their private intelligence service. And he's the last alive of 6, which is important to know. He's the last person on the board of directors, basically. So, and this is basically a report of all of the attacks Phoenix have done. So, basically, I think some of these are important, but I'm not really sure. Whenever Couriers disappears. Team in Montreal disappears pre-operation. Jet carrying. Jet crashes, I remember that. Anyway, 3 agents trying to defect. They were eliminated. Halcyon seems to have a habit of just killing people. Incursion detected on the network. And then this eventually leads to they tried to kill in Seattle. They traced the foothold back to they traced the hackers back to New Jersey, and then they saw that uh, Ryan Ross had a connection. So that's how they found Ryan Ross. And then at this point, this is what happens in the Ashes cutscene. Because I think there's like a time basically, and it says, yesterday this happened. Jackdaw was seen publicly. He approached the freelancer at gunpoint and gave them a message to relay. Calls his new organization Phoenix. Tends to use it while his actions for damage. The real threat is the Project Onyx files, basically. And then in the withdrawal, we get a combatant dossier on Jackdaw. Tells us basically this stuff. Dossier's been sealed, probably because he died and then he wasn't dead. Status active. It tells him when he was born, his real name, his country or whatever. He was working for the CIA, and then he got recruited. And they discovered his betrayal, but we don't really know. They said he was been executed, they sealed the file, but then, he wasn't really dead. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm not really looking at the timeline here. This is Ember Shroud. Basically, it was a fake mission, which they did with Jackdaw to try and kill Jackdaw, basically. So you can see he thought he was doing whatever here, but he was actually yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just a cover-up, though. Or at least, like, a double mission. Hmm. Okay, so he was a money launderer who, like, skims them. So the secondary objective, so it was a real mission, but the we're also killing Jackdaw during it. Hmm. Sentiment. Weird. I guess that's kind of showing how Ren doesn't really is like a sociopath or whatever because he just didn't care about that. I don't think there's much important here. It's kind of a cool thing. I like this. Um, it basically said, well, I looked at it. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, but it basically said he got he completed every mission except killing Jackdaw and killing the freelancer. Those are the only two he messed up, and it and he died. So kind of sad. Anyway, it basically says some of his. It talks about like a heist he did. It's pretty interesting. I'm not gonna go over the whole thing. Kind of just scrolling through it. If you want to learn more about that, it's cool. His name's Eric Reed. Kind of lame name. Reed. Anyway, scientist. It's a wiretap. Basically, I found this one kind of silly. Basically, uh, it says Falcon kills Rose, and you could tell this before. You could tell this as soon as this came out, as soon as Scientist came out, because you can see on Falcon's uniform it says OC7. So that's how that was found out because we had that from there. But anyway, this one I find kind of silly because it's like very Rose like dying. Anyway, basically what happens here is Rose calls Jackdaw and tells him that the freelancer is at Crown Lake and you need to save him. And that's how the freelancer was saved. Now, I don't think I get, like, because I think it was weird. It was, here, let me look. We found him buried in a forest near a burned out van after 3 weeks of searching. That doesn't make sense because why did it take them 3 weeks when Rose just told Jackdaw Crown Lake and he found him in like like one day, like probably a couple hours. So that didn't really make sense at all to me. Now, it doesn't say Crown Lake here. Maybe it wasn't really thought out. I don't know. I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna. Maybe it's just a mistake. That doesn't really seem to make sense to me. But it's not that big of a deal, I guess. But, like, you think they would have mentioned. Because they have the wiretap, right? So you think they would have mentioned that, like, Rose told him, but I guess that was saved for this. But anyway, SCRS is combat dossier on Rose. I don't think I've read too much into this because it's just a bunch of. No, I have read into this. Basically, what happened is this is why I think Project Onyx is obviously something very powerful because some kind of weapon. Because if it wasn't something that helped Jackdaw kill Halcyon, then I don't think he would be putting it to use. I originally thought it was some kind of supercomputer because I thought that would make sense because like you can have like a really strong weapon, but like you can have a nuke, but that doesn't really help against a global organization. Like because I thought having intel on everything just from like the supercomputer, like you can hack their entire database or whatever, would be much more beneficial, I think. I mean, I guess it's a military lab, so that wouldn't make entirely right sense. I don't know. But I just think just something like a better gun or something. That would, eh, you know? It wouldn't really crush them, if that makes sense. I don't know. It doesn't seem something worth developing. Like maybe something better at shooting or something. I don't know. But basically, what happened is it's about it has Rachel Thorne as her real name, designation, date of birth. Rose came from Monaco. She was a self-taught hacker, semi-wealthy family in Monaco. So she said, "Nah, I won't tell you about her history." And they just looked it up anyway. Rose did this. Rose did that. There's a cicada program, which did something. I don't really know what it did. Basically, she was a spy for Phoenix, but the freelancer was not, or at least they tried to prove it, but they couldn't. But they killed him. They tried to kill him anyway as a security precaution. Like real nice going there. Like nice going Halcyon. I'm just gonna kill him because he worked with Rose. Like just in case he's a spy. Anyway, they so after Steel Cove, attacked out of nowhere, they found out Rose did that, but yeah, basically Rose went on her own. She didn't want Jackdaw or the director to have access to this. So she did initially push back against the mission. Tipped her hand and filled the stuff with the files. Yeah, that's what I said right now. I guess this is what the director said, which, given the context, may make sense. Now, what I find is the only way that would make sense is if it's some kind of cruel weapon that Rose is too nice to want people to have, which, to be honest, I've always been kind of confused about why Ren is like the mean one, the sociopath, and Rose is like the considerate one, like the nice one, because Ren is the stealth guy and Rose is the loud guy. So like Rose enjoys killing people, and I mean like she's the nice girl. She's not the sociopath, but she's still the one who wants to like blow up banks and stuff. And like take the plan that you take people hostage and you kill police. Like Thermite, I know, like that always seemed kind of weird to me. Like, like, like she, kind of weird, you know. Anyway, so Rose is dead, and this is about Sparrow. Basically, pretty short. It says she uh, stationed at an Air Force base, and then she went missing, and then she started working for Jackdaw, and they shot down her helicopter, but she survived. I don't know when this was, actually. I have to look at the timeline. Anyway, so they do want to kill Sparrow, because, yeah, and then they figured out she's Sophia Pearl, but she doesn't have any family, luckily, so Halcyon can't, like, gank her family or whatever. Anyway, Falcon, they do say, is dead. They don't say missing, they don't say anything. So there goes my theory about him being in payoff, I guess. Unless he's been, like, fake dead, you know, but that wouldn't really make sense. I really thought he would have switched side, because that seemed to make sense with the MO. I wanted to say that, like, when I made a theory about that before. I wanted to say, oh, Jackdaw's pretty good at making people switch sides, because you can see in the here, a lot of these they have like people switching sides and stuff. So Jackdaw seems to be really good at that, getting people to go from one side to the other, which is cool. But anyway, this is this. Anyway, it doesn't say much. It says his name, when he was born, so we get like how old he is when he died and stuff. Um, I'm gonna say that's like what? Uh, I can count. Okay, he was around 30, like 32, 30, 32, possibly, when he died. I'm gonna say he was like 30 years old when he died, and basically he used to be Steel Cove, which is cool, but he had a not good thing, and then he killed an officer. He had a disagreement. Anyway, and then he died. They were considering him for leadership too. Personnel file Horizon. Oh, I guess they gave a nickname to her or something. Anyway, this is about Rivera. It's a very short one again. They recruited to consult on our recently acquired project Onyx. I don't know. I don't really get it because she seemed like she couldn't really leave. Because it seemed like they let her transfer out of it, but then she defected, and it's kind of weird. She's MIA. We don't know what happened to Rivera, but I'm pretty sure she's not dead. Because, like, I feel like Phoenix wouldn't do that, and I feel like they could use the scientist, you know? I don't know. Anyway, last we have Killhouse, which is actually a really cool one. I go over this, like, right here. Basically, it's like a hard mode of sorts. You get, like, put in the vault room. Okay, so what you do is if you start loud on Killhouse on Elite or Legend. Oh, it changes to Legend once the nightmare begins. Anyway, so there's three. So there's the three circuit boxes. One will have a darkened wire, and then you can, uh, you do the darkened wire, like you rewire the circuit box, and you switch circuit box, and you do all 3 circuit boxes, and then when you get everyone in the vault room and you put the drill down, it instead takes 15 minutes. The lights go out, it plays this creepy music, and then it's epic. And then if you survive all 15 minutes of just have to stay in that room, then you can get the loot. And when you go back, there's like red writing on the wall with the code. Anyway, it's another short one, but it's actually pretty important. So, like I said before, was originally 6 directors. So, 3 accidents and then 2 other people. Basically, what the director is doing here is he killed off all the other directors. That's why he's the last one. So Masuda and Levin are the other 2 directors, and I believe because this is Providence, which is like a beginning or something, and this is Jackdaw, because he says Mr. Miles. So I believe that this is part of his revenge story. That either this is part of why he wanted revenge, why he went against him or something, or possibly I think it's a motive as to why the director tried to knock him off, and because Jackdaw had this knowledge, he was like around when the director was. Like it was probably the last person, or maybe the only person, who knew what he did with all this. So maybe the director tried to take him off because he felt threatened by him or something, because he knew this. It doesn't entirely make sense, but I feel like it's pretty much the only thing we've got right here, because I don't think Jackdaw would betray him after this. It just seems kind of unlikely, but anyway, I guess he'd be making a pretty big paycheck after all of the directors are gone except him. Anyway, so that or so I think it's either that this was like the beginning of his revenge, like why he didn't like the director, or it was like a kick, or like a slap in the face. Like Jackdaw did all this for him, and then the director turns around and betrays him. Anyway, the nightmare dialogue is a bit weird. So, this isn't right. It's not what should have happened. It's done. It's over. Had to have your revenge, didn't you? Couldn't just walk away. I wish it hadn't ended like this. You had to know where it would take you. Au revoir. So, I'm guessing Rose is against the Project Onyx or whatever. So, I'm guessing Jackdaw used it to get his revenge. Or he did something. Like, something that Rose wouldn't approve of. It's kind of weird, because, Rose is dead. But, still, I don't know. I looked this up. I couldn't really find anything, like, specific about it. I don't really understand the importance. Maybe it's just something random. It's like, a gated community in Toronto. So, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, well, that's what we have so far. That's all the hidden lore, which is obviously no longer hidden. But those are all the codes. That's pretty much everything we have so far. The only one left is Black Dusk, which maybe helps a bit. But we've got pretty much all the characters, I'm pretty sure. Except the freelancer, obviously. We've got all their real names and all their uh, date of births and everything, even like Sparrow and Falcon, like the minor characters. I really thought that Falcon would have been the one in uh, payoff, because that just seemed to make sense. Like it made him like an actual important character in the story, and it was just like I didn't think it was a huge stretch because now it's not exactly the same, but in the Rose cutscene, the one where she's getting interviewed, we're not looking in the freelancer's perspective in that. We're looking through like Rose's perspective or otherwise like third person. I mean, we're always in third person, but you know what I mean. Like the freelancer wouldn't be able to see that conversation. Now he is nearby and he does show up in that, but still, it's like that's not something he'd be seeing, right? He wouldn't be like overlooking an interview or an interrogation with like a about that as like a small fry who just got recruited. Anyway, because see, that just really seemed to make sense because of that, and that Falcon was the guy who didn't talk, and no one taught, and like the guy in Payoff doesn't talk, and the guy who wears gloves, and the guy in Payoff wears gloves, and it just made sense in the timeline, I believe. It's like it's after Scientist, and like it's after Scientist, and Scientist is where Falcon is. So that would be the point where he defects, but I guess it wasn't him. It's the freelancer or someone. It's just kind of lame. I think it's kind of lame. I don't know. But it doesn't make sense anymore because it's directly contradicted that it says they're dead, and also Jackdaw is like, oh, they're after you. You know what happens if they catch you, which, doesn't make sense if they think you're dead, so, that doesn't really make sense, but that was all the codes and stuff. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. This used to be like nothing, though. It used to be this, but now it's all this, which is cool. I didn't really go over how you find each one, but you can look for yourself on this page if you want. I don't think I'm gonna make, unless it's like really important, maybe a small video on it, the new one. But like you can just look here when Black Dust comes out and they find it, because like they found these codes really fast. They were like boom, auction, gala, cash, Killhouse, like all in a couple days with just like the whole community just forming together to make a meme about a cube. Anyway, that's all I've got to do.